Hello and namaste, this is Danfe TV. Today's episode is on speech which was delivered by Prem Sagar Poudel, chairman of Danfe TV.com. Speaking as a keynote speaker on the security challenge in Nepal at a webinar conference organized by Fortune Society on the 23rd of June. He has given the speech about the security challenges in Nepal and so on. Now the speech as it is.
Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Davis, today's host of today's sharing sessions. Our topic today will be about the security challenge in Nepal and whether the country's very famous military neutrality will change as a result of the recent incidents and war in Ukraine, because we know that quite a lot has been going on in Nepal recently. The MCC Pact and the SSP has the initiative from US and so on. And we also know that Nepal voted in favor of a UN GA resolution which condemning Russia. Is it a deviation from the country's very famous neutrality, or as the Nepalese government said, it doesn't mean that the country has taken any side? So today we have we are privileged to have Mr. Prem Sagar Poudel to share with us his insight. He has been the chairman of Danfe Television in Nepal since 2017, and also importantly, he has been the founder and president of the Nepal-China Mutual Cooperation Society since 1987. That was before I was born. So we are really eager to learn about your insight and sharings about the strategic roles of Nepal, the country's recent foreign policies, and how the war in Ukraine has been changing it. And without further ado, perhaps Mr. Poud can start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and thank you, Professor Umay, for giving me this chance. And first, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, I'm going to talk about the security challenges in Nepal. Will the neutral role of the military change due to the war in Ukraine? Thank you so much for this important occasion. Nepal is an important and meaningful country from the geopolitical point of view of South Asia. Due to its water, mineral, and natural richness, it is becoming a victim of the Indo-West as well as an arena against China. Today, I'm expressing my views on how the US is using Nepal against China. I'm sure that after listening to my opinion, you will know the real situation clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, Nepal voted in favor of Ukraine in the UN General Assembly. On March 2, the United Nations passed a resolution calling on Russia to suspend its invasion in Ukraine and withdraw its troops. 141 countries, including Nepal, voted in favor of the resolution. Only 5 countries voted against the proposal, which includes Russia, Belarus, North Korea, Eritrea, and Syria. Nepal's neighbors, India and China, abstained. 34 countries abstained. SAARC member states Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka also abstained. Less than a month after the incident on March 24, Nepal again supported Ukraine. Nepal voted in favor of Ukraine in the UN General Assembly's resolution on humanitarian aid prepared by Ukraine and other countries. In the 11th emergency special session of General Assembly, the resolution on humanitarian aid in Ukraine was passed by two-thirds majority vote. Out of 193 members of the United Nations, 140 voted in favor of the resolution. In the opposition, only 5 votes were cast. Russia, Syria, North Korea, Eritrea, and Belarus voted against. 38 countries, including Nepal's 2 neighbors, India and China, abstained. Earlier in the day, on March 23rd, Russia's UN Security Council resolutions on humanitarian aid to Ukraine failed after 13 members, except China, backed it. South Africa also submitted another resolution to the General Assembly. The resolution, which was drafted without mentioning the Russian invasion, was not voted on. South Africa's proposal was not put to the vote after the Ukrainian envoy said a separate resolution on the same issue should not be passed. On February 24, Russian President Vladimir Putin called for special military action on Ukrainian soil. Against such a move by Russia, Nepal said that every country should respect the sovereignty of another country. After that, Nepal voted in the various UN agencies in favor of Ukraine. The question of why Nepal did not stand for Russia in various UN programs clarifies Nepal's current foreign policy. Nepal has made it clear that it is slowly moving towards the American side, standing in favor of Ukraine. The question of why Nepal sided with Ukraine when its 2 neighbors, India and China, remained neutral is important for now. This question seems to disturb Nepal in the long run. America first. Respected ladies and gentlemen, Nepal is now moving towards US first in foreign policy. As a result, Nepal could not take benefit from the Russian invasion in Ukraine. India buys crude oil from Russia. India took advantage of rising oil prices in the international market. India did not sell oil to Nepal at the price of oil brought from Russia. Oil sold at international market prices. Nepal could also have benefited from the invasion in Ukraine. In particular, Nepal has not been able to take advantage of not only the crude petroleum products sold by Russia in the international market, but also the agricultural products. Nepal, on the other hand, has been buying agricultural products at a high rate imported from Russia to India at cheap prices. Due to the war, the price of edible oil has also gone up in Nepal. Even now, the price of edible oil is rising very quick. Why Nepal could not stand on the regional balance, especially like India and China, is a matter of debate now. Nepal could have remained neutral like India and China. However, there seems to be some strategic reasons behind Nepal's openness in favor of Ukraine. In other words, the United States was the first country to congratulate Dhurba on his appointment as Prime Minister. US Ambassador Randy Berry reached Dhurba's residence in Budanilkand and congratulated him. On social media, an attempt was made to balance power by posting the first congratulatory message from India. With Dhurba as Prime Minister, the United States was interested in getting approval of the MCC from Parliament. Nepal's parties had taken MCC as a normal project. In particular, the leaders of the Nepali Congress were already in favor of the MCC. The then Prime Minister KP Oli had blocked the MCC from being approved by the Parliament. However, the United States was in favor of getting the project approved by Parliament at any cost. A government led by Dhurba was formed in the second week of July last year. In August, MCC Vice President Fatima Z. Sumar came to Nepal. A week before Sumar's visit to Nepal, the government had written a letter to the MCC. In the 8th point of the letter, there is a question asked, has Nepal become a member of IPS? In response, the United States stated that the MCC is not agreement under the Nepal Compact Indo-Pacific Strategic Partnership. The government had moved ahead with the issue of MCC passed by forwarding this letter. After Sumar's visit to Nepal, Prime Minister Dhurba began to create an atmosphere in favor of the MCC, due to which the MCC was approved by the Parliament with an explanatory declaration. Apart from the Nepali Congress, the ruling coalition parties voted in favor of the MCC. UML obstructed the Parliament. However, through a press conference, Oli expressed happiness over the passing of MCC. When Sumar met Oli, she talked more informally. The manner in which Sumar met the former Prime Minister also showed that Oli was in favor of MCC. Informal physical gestures are not displayed in normal and diplomatic meetings. Sumar had met Oli in a physical gesture when she met someone close to her or the person she had known. By the time the MCC was passed, American influence in Nepal had greatly increased. After that, the United States had accelerated the process of visiting Nepal. On the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Nepal and the United States, American officials started coming to Nepal. In the meantime, due to the visit of the Americans, Nepal gradually started moving towards the US. When it comes to Ukraine, the Nepal seems to be completely under the American influence. In other words, while the old allies of Nepal as China, India, and Russia are on one side, Nepal seems to be holding the hand of another ally, the United States. Nepal's decision certainly seems to have increased the security threat. The path taken by the army. Respected ladies and gentlemen, Nepal Army Chief Prabhu Ram Sharma has said that Nepal is under the threat of international security challenges, concluding the officer cadet training at the Nepali Military Academy at Kharipati in Bhaktapur. Chief of Army Staff Sharma said that Nepal was facing a complex security challenge. Speaking on the occasion on June 6, Chief of Army Staff Sharma said the current situation in Europe has added to the security challenges. Nepal is not free from the impact of this on the world economy. As a result, the potential for security problems has increased significantly. This speech by General Sharma clearly shows that the Nepal Army is working in favor of Ukraine. Chief of Army Staff Sharma further said, leadership is needed today to be able to anticipate potential challenges to the security of the nation and its citizens, and to keep Nepal safe from complex security threats by accurately assessing the challenges ahead. It seems that Chief of Army Staff Sharma is trying to give a hint about Nepal's current destination. That is, the Nepal Army has been changing its neutral role since its inception in the name of international security challenges. In other words, this speech seems to indicate that the Nepal Army is increasingly likely to side with the Americans via Ukraine. At present, there is no basis to say that the security challenge in Nepal has increased due to the Europeans. Without this basis, a person like the Chief of Army Staff seems to have dared to say that Nepal is in a serious state of security challenge. Behind his courage, it is clear that Nepal is leaning towards the American pole in the name of security challenges. In other words, General Sharma's signal was to try to work with the Americans in managing the growing security challenge in Nepal. This signal shown by Chief of Army Staff Sharma became clear when it came to the SPP. General Charles Flynn of the US Army's Indo-Pacific Command, who was on visit to Nepal before he left Kathmandu, the 10-point document of the SPP was leaked. The SPP agreement, which was made public through various media on June 15, provides for mutual military exercises in Nepal's high geography, northern Himalayan region. The SPP, an integral part of the Indo-Pacific strategy, was initiated by the United States on the basis of correspondence from the Nepal Army. Chief of Army Staff Sharma told the International Relations Committee of the Parliament on June 17. The SPP has been implemented. Under this, the United States has already provided 2 aircrafts. An air ambulance is coming. The other one is in the process of coming. In other words, the issue of SPP agreement became clear only after the statement of Chief of Army Staff Sharma. The government has now decided not to move the SPP agreement forward. However, the government has not yet spoken about the once done agreement. Prime Minister Dhurba is expected to discuss the issue during his visit to the United States on July 11. Prime Minister Dhurba is also likely to seek time with his American counterpart to move forward on the issue only after the next election. So Ukraine seems to be just a beacon now. By showing Ukraine, the United States seems to be engaged in the development of strategic areas to Nepal. In such a situation, Nepal will develop as a center of strategic conflict. Nepal government. Respected ladies and gentlemen, there have been 3 governments in Nepal so far. The first, government of Nepal, that is the government elected by the people of Nepal. Another is government of the Tibetan Dalai Lama, who is living in exile in India. The election of this government is also held in Nepal by keeping ballot boxes. Those who speak out for an independent Tibet outside of Tibet are the voters of this government. The other is the Nepal Army's government. In terms of army, Nepal has the Nepal Army and the Dalai Lama's army. And third, the parallel government of the West, which is from Singadurbar to local bodies. It is covered by NGOs, INGOs, and military assistance. Now, with the addition of American troops, there will be 3 types of armies in Nepal. Nepal Army of the government of Nepal, exiled Tibetan Dalai Lama's army, and the US military. The Nepal Army and the Dalai Lama's army will be mobilized by the US military. In such a situation, Nepal will develop militarily as a strategic conflict zone. The US military and the Dalai Lama's military will be based in the northern region bordering China. In particular, they will use the Nepali land used by the Khampas. In such a situation, the interest of the Chinese army in the border area will definitely increase. In other words, this kind of military presence is likely to turn Nepal into a strategic conflict zone. The present government has moved forward in the same direction. Now let's look at why Nepal voted Ukraine. A majority of UN members are in favor of Ukraine. The reason behind that is America. In other words, many countries in the world still seem to be in favor of US. America does not want peace in the world, rising the economy by waging war and selling arms in an American business style. In favor of Ukraine, Nepal indirectly told its 2 neighbors, China and India, I am not on your side. That is, we are free to seek your alternatives. In other words, the issue of how the problem came to be in today's Ukraine also helps to understand this issue. Ukraine has long been out of touch with the West, including the United States. It was completely dependent on Russia. The United States has been influencing Ukraine since 2008. The then President Bush started talking about giving NATO membership to Ukraine. Gradually, Ukraine began to align itself with the United States. On the other hand, the European Union also tried to increase its influence in Ukraine. The United States and the European Union are on one side and Russia on the other in the Ukraine issue. Russia became irritated with Ukraine. Russia did not like the growing influence of the United States and the West world at its doorstep. It's natural as well. Russia wondered why Ukraine should join NATO, leaving the Warsaw Pact. Russia sees Ukraine's attempt for NATO membership as its biggest challenge. On the other hand, the United States and the West have been saying that it is natural for Ukraine to join NATO as a sovereign country. This is the situation in Ukraine today due to the conflict with Russia and the activities of foreign countries. That is, a country that was moving towards prosperity was shattered. Let's look at this issue. That is, Nepal in place of Ukraine. It is not in favor of China that US troops come to Nepal. Can Nepal be saved by the US Army? Even if it is not on the side of India, there is an easy answer to this. Again, Nepal will be another Ukraine. The United States seems to be moving forward with the same thinking. The lesson Nepal needs to learn from Ukraine is to be serious about foreign relations. While maintaining a balanced foreign policy, the sensitive security interests of the neighboring countries should be taken into consideration. This does not mean that our foreign policy should be influenced by neighboring countries. We must pursue an independent foreign policy. It is our obligation to act on sensitive issues. When Crimea was annexed by Russia, Nepal remained neutral. Non-aligned foreign policy is an important part of our foreign policy. We are always in favor of this policy. Nepal could have taken this path in the case of Ukraine. In such a situation, American influence in Nepal could not have increased so fast in recent times. In other words, Nepal has now failed to balance the power of the United States. India and Russia have a special relationship. India purchased arms from Russia. India-Russia relations have traditionally been very strong. India does not want to irritate Russia. If India, Russia, and China stay together tomorrow, the situation in Nepal can be estimated by looking at Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Prem Sagar Poudel, for your presentations. And your presentations reminds me of in the 18th century, I guess the first king of the kingdom of Nepal once described your country as a yam between two stones. and I guess he was referring to China and India. And we all know that India and Nepal share a very special relationships. For example, your citizens enjoy certain rights in India and so on. And so in your assessments, my first question would be, in your assessments, if Nepal continue to lean toward the American in terms of foreign policies, what might be the reactions from India? What will be India's view of a closer ties between Nepal and the Americans?
It's a very bad things for Nepal and Nepalese people. It will destroy our relations and regional stability and the peace. I think we should correction our steps and to need study our history.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you. And we have members of the audience asking a questions. Could you elaborate a bit on the third government you described? You say there are 3 governments at least in Nepal, and the third one is about the US NGOs and INGOs and so on. Could you elaborate a bit on that? Who exactly are they, and in your view, how do they operate in Nepal?
Yeah, actually, here are 4 government and 4 army. I mentioned only the 3 government.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because one is the Nepal government, another is the Nepal Army government, another is Western government, and the 4th is the Dalai Lama's government. Here are 4 government and 4 army: Nepal Army, American Army, yes, and Indian Army,
Yeah.
Dalai Lama Army.
Dalai Lama's army.
Actually, 4 government and 4 armies are here and operated by the Western. Yes, it's clear.
And how about
And
NGOs?
also the approved by the time.
How about NGOs? What are the roles of NGOs in the governance of Nepal?
Actually, NGO and INGOs controlled our government.
Oh,
Westerners, they are using INGOs and NGOs to control our leader, political parties, and social organizations, and also the other sectors. It's not good for Nepal and also our neighbors.
It's not good for unified Nepal in your view.
It is against of the regional stability and peace.
And sovereignty, no doubt. And we also and we also got another questions is about toward the Millennium Challenge corporations and the SPP, how divided the Nepali society is on these issues, because you have several major parties in Nepal, like the Maoist Center, the Unified Socialists, the Nepali Congress, and opposition UML you mentioned, right? What are their views? Are there views difference toward this sorts of initiative and the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy in general? What are their different views? Do they have different views?
Before, Nepalese people, they didn't know about the MCC. After our government accepted this, then they knows how danger for Nepal and Nepalese people also the regional stability, because MCC is the under of the Indo-Pacific strategy, and there is Indo-Pacific strategy, there is the arm interest. Yeah, so that Nepalese people really they are not accepting from their heart to MCC, and also I am seeing.
But it has
Also,
been ratified. But it has been ratified by the parliament already.
yeah,
The
already. Because
NCC.
you know, every people knows that our government is not Nepali people's government. It's not Nepal's government. Yeah, it's created by the Westerners, supported by the Westerners, and our government working Westerners' interest. They are implementing their interest, not Nepalese people's interest, not nation's interest. Yeah.
Okay, and let's perhaps our final questions would touch on China, because you know, in recent years the tensions between U.S. and China has been rising geopolitically on like Taiwan, on Hong Kong, and so on. And do you think if the Nepalese government continue to lean forward the Americans, if it's not stopped, will they change their policy toward Tibet? Because China highly regards the sovereignty and territorial integrity as very important. Do you think the Nepali government will change their policy toward Tibet, like Tibet part of China, these sort of things?
Actually, I'm very sorry to say this. Our government already changed their policy about the Tibet. And our government has not been standing one China policy in their behavior. Only saying we are one China policy, supporting one China policy, but actually they are not. Our government not supported one China policy in in their behavior. Yes, and it is my opinion, and I think Nepal should follow, strictly follow one China policy, and we should support one China, and we should keep the good relations with our neighbors, and to implement BRI and other development projects.
Because foreign minister
to make a prosperous Nepal, peace, region, and regional stability.
Because Foreign Minister Wang Yi visited your country in March, I guess, and he met with the prime ministers. But there's been media reports saying that although they have signed a wide range of agreements, none of them is about the BRI. Does that concern you, or it's just fine? What's your view on that?
I have been writing about this matter many articles, and also I am explaining through my articles. Always Nepal government, and this or that or other, they are not interested to implement BRI, and they are not interested to keep good relations with China. Only saying that. And during the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Wang visit, that time also our government didn't give a good response to him. It is dishonor for Nepali people too. Yeah, I am very sorry for that from my side, because our government didn't did good job during his visit Nepal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, and well, I guess that's thank you very much. And I guess that's it for our sharing sessions. But I want to reiterate that like if Nepal is a yam between two stones, then if it lean toward the America as well, then it would be a yam among three stones. It sounds far too complicated for Nepal to navigate the very complicated geopolitical issues and challenge if it abandon its neutrality. And I'm sure you share the concern as well. And so let's see, and let's hope that what's happening in Ukraine will not will not happen in this side of the world, in Asia, right? We are all peace-loving peoples, and that's the last thing we want, is to have a Ukrainian style crisis in our side of the world, right? And once again, and thank you very much, Mr. Prem Sagar Poudel, for your wonderful introduction, presentation, and sharing about Nepal and the geopolitical challenges in general. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much to you.